Yeah.
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we are as of 3 seconds ago.
Oh, cool. So hi, hey, what's up? Welcome. Hold on. This is the group chat with your hosts, me, Dave. I'm here. I'm talking right now. You can see me. For those who can't see me, I'm here. Stefan.
Yep, that's my name.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I exist.
And then we
What
have
the fuck do you want?
one of our
We have
special
our guest, producer, friend, man, extraordinaire, legend, myth, cryptid, Dan.
Well, thank you for that that long list as my intro. I am definitely a cryptid at heart, and I'm excited just be here. I've been editing for the past month and a half, so it's nice to actually score a spot on your show.
Hell yeah.
We're happy to have you, man.
It's an exclusive list and
got VIP.
Yeah, right. No, thank you for coming by. We appreciate it. So normally you ask me, but I'm going to ask you, what's the topic for today? Because you came to me.
Well, let's see. I was talking with Dan maybe a week or so ago, and it's this argument or discussion, whichever terms you want to phrase it, that dates back to UMass Dartmouth in our friend Karina Hennessy's dorm, where Dan tried to either way, it's a heated topic, but basically Dan was saying that The Last Jedi is a better movie than I'm willing to give it credit for. And now that we've seen Rise of Skywalker, obviously there's some of us have seen Rise of Skywalker. Dave is holding out hope, and I guess I respect that. But yeah, so basically Dan was like, Last Jedi is not as bad as people say. And originally I was like, you're talking about The Last Jedi is shit. Like, Rian Johnson fucked up this whole franchise. But in the last time Dan and I were talking, he helped me in a way see the light. So I'm going to spin why I feel like it's a bad movie, what my argument was, and then we're going to let Dan light a dumpster fire all over me and go from there.
I mean, I'm happy to do so if you want, Stefan, but we can have a friendly conversation about this.
Well, this can be civil. It's not all.
This goes way back though. We've hashed this out probably more times than I care to expand on. I feel like every other time we talk, whenever Star Wars gets brought up, we just hash it out about this a little bit, just a little bit. So let's air it all out today, Steph.
I gotta point out, Dan's not normally the aggressor who will bring it up. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's like The Last Jedi. It sucks.
No, that's true. You were very antagonistic.
He likes to stir the pot.
And it depends.
He does. He gets it from our peers. So
I would argue there's a lot of pot stirrers who give it just as much as they get it.
That's true.
But anyway, so I am one of those people who was, the trilogy is safe. The legacy of Star Wars is safe with J.J. Abrams, right? Because, he's all like, oh, cool, you got to have a mystery box, right? Some cool stuff. And, he grew up watching George Lucas and Spielberg. And, those are his idols. So it's like, yo, man, you're entrusted with, your idol's baby, So you're going to treat it the best possible way you can. Now, we can talk about, The Force Awakens arguably is a rehash of every first entry in a Star Wars trilogy, right? It establishes who the heroes are, a base blows up, right? Someone's new to being a Jedi. It's just the basic formula, right? So it's not new things it's not a new formula, right? And then, instead of staying on, he was like, yeah, you know what? I did the Star Wars thing. I'm out. And then, they bring in Rian Johnson. And, don't get me wrong, Rian Johnson has got a couple decent flicks. And by a couple, I mean 2, right? He got Brick, which was
literally
really
what
good.
A couple means.
Yeah, that is. Thank you for taking it literally. So there's Brick, and then there's Looper. right? And those two movies are really good for what they are, which is one is like a low budget, like sleuth.
Didn't Looper like not do good?
I'd have to double back on that. I think it did like mediocre at best, but like it had a following. You know what I mean? It was like,
Okay.
Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt together in a movie, and like Bruce Willis is doing stuff, but like he's not at the movies anymore. You know, so like it was good for him. It was good, but these are not like billion dollar films like Star Wars. So he comes in, and like I guess my real problem is like they didn't have a plan, like a cohesive like bridge to tie all of these stories together, right? So Rian Johnson was like, I'm gonna do my own shit and retcon everything that I seem fit, and like it fucked everything up. And then what happened? Kathleen Kennedy fired Rian Johnson and brought J.J. Abrams back, and then you know what? He fucked up that movie, right? So even though J.J. was back, it's like no one did anything good for Star Wars until like Jon Favreau. But anyway, Dan pointed out a lot of really interesting things that at the time I wasn't willing to acknowledge as accurate or right.
Stubborn.
Yeah, I was being stubborn and I wanted to be right. But anyway, Dan had some really good points about like, so I'll let Dan take the mic from there. That'll end my rant for now.
Okay. Thank you for the rant, Stefan.
Just giving me a lot to work with.
A lot of F-bombs. But I think just to start off, like there are quite a few things that we agree on when it comes to like the new trilogy, you know. So all of us have seen The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I assume we thought it was like a pretty good movie.
Yeah, it's good for what it is. You know, I thought I don't remember my initial thoughts, but like we Steph, when we talked about it, did I seem like pretty hyped about it or whatever? Like
I think everyone when it came out was like, oh, like Star Wars is back, like that's awesome, you know. And then like the promise of having like, oh, okay, finally Star Wars is adding like diversity to the galaxy. Yeah. There's not just one black guy in each trilogy. You know what I mean? Right. Like, and women.
No, there are two.
Yeah, well, that's still shitty. They should do more about that. But like, oh, cool, we got like a woman and you know a black gentleman who are going to be Jedi. That's pretty sweet. You know what I mean? So it's like, good. This is good. This is what the Force needs. This is what the people need. This is just all progress in the right direction. So like, yeah. I think hyped was a good term. Like you said.
I think I don't know. For me, I just thought The Force Awakens did a good job of like reintroducing us to Star Wars. Like we were all so hungry for Star Wars stuff, and you know, even though it might have been like a rehash of A New Hope, like I think we were just like, yeah, you know, we were so excited to have it, you know. And I thought it was a fun film, you know. It was pretty good. So that's something that we can agree on. The first installment of the new trilogy showed promise. It set the stage, like you said, Stefan. J.J. Abrams set up sort of a mystery box, which he's famous for, with the first film. He threw a lot of things that didn't have answers yet, and I don't even know if he had answers for them. He just threw out a lot of questions that were interesting questions. So Force Awakens, pretty good. As a whole, I think you pointed to this, Stefan, is, you know, the new trilogy is kind of a mess because all of the films aren't coordinated with each other, right? Like there was no cohesive vision between the films. And I think you and I had talked about this, Stefan. If J.J. Abrams had stayed on for that second film, maybe this new trilogy would have been better, would have had a more cohesive vision. Right, so I really like The Last Jedi, and I will get to why I like it. But I do think because J.J. Abrams left that second film to somebody else, you know, perhaps that is one of the reasons why we don't have a cohesive trilogy. And, you know, I think there's a lot built into maybe why all three of them didn't work. You know, maybe it was sort of exacerbated by Carrie Fisher's death. I think they expected Carrie Fisher to play a big role in the last film, and they sort of set that up in The Last Jedi, and unfortunately she died between the films. So that really put a damper on whatever they were planning on doing with Leia. I feel for J.J. Abrams, especially since he had to close out the trilogy. But what they did, I don't think was satisfying.
And I'll never know.
Never know. Okay, so we've established a little bit of common ground. What do you think, Stefen? David, any thoughts on this? I know, Dave, you haven't seen the Rise of Skywalker, so you can't comment on the ending. But what did you think of The Last Jedi? Just out of curiosity, David, because I feel like you're kind of the one who's going to mediate this argument for us.
I'm just trying to think of what was going on when I said. Oh, I remember. Okay. Yeah, I saw it. That was a film. I liked it for the most part. I liked it a lot more than Stefen. I'll tell you that. I'm not gonna say that I loved it, but I thought it was really good. I mean, looking back when Stefen was like, "That's fucking dumb. Why did they do this?" They just had one scene. I remember we were having not an argument, but he was yelling about it. But he was like, they had one scene where this guy just goes like this. He looks at, he's like, salt, and he's like, "What the fuck is that?" And, so that's one notable moment. But for him kind of going on and pointing out all the things that he thought were wrong with the film, I was thinking back and I'm like, I didn't notice any of that. I just kind of was, there for the ride. Looking back, no, I definitely think that Finn and Rose,
yeah,
that side plot was really dumb. I still don't even really know what were they doing, trying to freeze some animals for something? That's a rhetorical question. Don't even answer that.
Okay.
Because I don't know. That I admit is just dumb. And then yeah, sure, anyone can be force sensitive. There's the kid with the broom. Now we're wondering. I'm going to take a very sharp left turn into Incredibles territory, where Syndrome is once everyone's super, no one will be. You know what I'm saying? So it's once everyone's a Jedi, that's just dumb. But whatever. I guess without really digging in and analyzing it, just first watch, because I only saw it once. It was fine. It was fine. It was fine. Okay. For as all right as the new trilogy is, I would take the prequels any day.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's, maybe we can have a part 2 to this discussion.
I'm down.
Yeah,
for sure.
Me too. Yeah. I'll be honest, I haven't seen the prequels in a long time, but I think there's a lot to like about the prequels. I think they get a lot of flack.
Oh man, no, they're misunderstood.
No, okay, I love them, but they are so bad. I just remember coming downstairs and my dad be watching it on TV, and I'm like, how did I like this when I was 7? But then again, we were 7. Now all 7-year-olds are stupid.
Right.
Well, at least I was. I can't speak for every 7-year-old out there, but
I was definitely stupid. But I feel like maybe that's why I still have an emotional connection to it too, David.
Exactly.
Because I saw it when I was a kid, and I'm like, man, I just loved going to the film to see that.
Yeah, no, 100%. But to wrap up my answer, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, well, you're going to be a good middle ground, I think. And you alluded to something I want to get at, is Stefen's long tirade of faults with The Last Jedi. So, Stefen, you handed me the mic, and I'm going to hand you the mic. I want to hear all of your gripes with The Last Jedi.
Yeah, how much time do we have?
Yeah, well, maybe do like a consolidated list.
All right, I can do that for you.
Okay, I think he has it ready for us. You know.
All right, one. I understand that there has to be like witty banter, right? Like that's a thing. It's in all Star Wars movies. Okay, but like that whole thing where like Poe Dameron was like, "Oh, call waiting" with General Hux. It's like that's not funny. That's just dumb. Like you don't do that when you're in a rebellion, especially about to be in a dogfight. Whatsoever, it's not okay. That's,
Give me 1 second, guys.
all right. Then, does he mean like to wait? Do you want me to pause?
I think he wants us.
No, just keep doing your thing. My other group, that man, they wanted a video chat, so give me 1 second.
Wait, are you dual chatting?
Everyone,
Dave's cheating on us?
Wow.
Wow.
He has another podcast.
You know what's gonna happen? This is now the Dan and Stefen show. Guest starring Dave.
Guest starring Dave. Wow. He gets kicked off of his own podcast.
That we are very fascinating.
Yeah.
The best show on
This is how the Sith roll. No. I'm just playing, but this hurts like
I gotta get going.
a little
It's
bit.
good to see you guys, and I'll
Yeah,
be
see.
in the chat.
It sounds like he's on call with the family members. So.
Then what are we, Dan?
Oh, we're not family.
I'm back. Okay, keep that in. No, do whatever you want. It's yeah. Our show is in your hands. You know. Well, anyway, what did I miss?
Nothing.
I don't believe that at all.
So
You've been kicked off the island, according to Stefen.
Oh, you can't exile me. I brought up exiling.
that's
Or what
true.
the fuck was
Yeah,
that?
exile. No. It was something different. Oh God.
Excommunicate.
Excommunicado. That's a story for another day.
I think we should tell said person about that.
Do you?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe
But
down
anyway.
the road.
Yeah. Anyway.
Story for another time. Oh, so my gripes with the movie's
Last
so bad.
Jedi.
That's it. It's not rememberable. All right, so The Last Jedi. As I was saying, the call waiting, right? It's like, man, I get it. You're supposed to be like this cool, like Han Solo-esque character, so you're like handsome and witty and all that, but like Oscar Isaac did not have the same comedic timing. Like when he would say things like that were supposed to be funny or have like a separate meaning, you just are like, why? Like you're just buying time for this, and like you got an angry ginger screaming on a spaceship. It's like that's not funny. Like it's not funny at all. You might as well just have Ed Sheeran sing to you while you have call waiting. But anyway, so like there's that. Okay, then there's like, okay, I'm all for the Finn Rose like love story, but going to like this casino planet to find Benicio del Toro, who ultimately does nothing. Like literally, he's only in this movie because he was upset that Darth Maul's role had 15 minutes of screen time because he was cast as Darth Maul originally, and he left the photo, the picture. So this was just to say, hey, I did it. I'm in a Star Wars movie, and he had an even less memorable role than he would have as Darth Maul, because Darth Maul rocks, man. Like people are still obsessed with Darth Maul.
Yeah, they brought him back. That's how good he is.
Exactly, right? So not a memorable. The other thing. Space Leia, like you're in a coma, and all of a sudden, like, oh, right, like, come on, man, like Carrie Fisher died. You could have given her a better thing to, like, oh, this was her last role. That she's fucking in a coma, flying through space. Like that's so bad, right? And then like, I'm one of those people who wanted to see more about Snoke, right? Like it's like, oh, you're this big heavy, we don't know about you, okay? And like if you watch The Mandalorian, they're starting to explain some of the Snokiness, right? So like
I haven't started The Mandalorian. I've been meaning to. on my own time, but I just haven't, and I hear it's getting like really good.
Yeah, I would recommend starting like season 2, like episode 3. Skip the rest.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say it was bad, the rest of it, but that's when it starts to get really good.
Slow
so.
burn. Yeah. Okay.
But
Anyway,
you're in
Steph.
for a treat.
I wouldn't even call it a slow burn. I would just say it's like nothing much happens until that. So, but anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, The Mandalorian
I
is
did.
great. Everyone should watch that. I promise my tirade's almost over. So,
Okay.
Coma Space Leia, stupid, right? Then the whole thing where like they just whack Snoke off, and you're like, oh, okay.
You
Like
might want to rephrase that, my friend.
when they kill Snoke off, not consensually engage in sexual conduct.
Okay. So, man,
I did
Dan,
that.
you're
just
gonna
took
have
it that
some work to
direction.
do.
I did
You're gonna have
that
some work to
on
do.
purpose, Dave. I'm aware of what I said. So, anyway, also the fans like this side random nonsense, so they'll be okay with it.
That's true.
Yeah, they just kill him, and that's it. Which I guess, okay, cool. But then I like it. Like they're flirting with each other. One's bad, one's good. It's like, I don't know. I didn't buy their whole relationship. Even in like the last movie, I didn't buy it. Like the whole
I did, even though they're brother and sister. What?
like when he's just shirtless. Like talking to her, and it's just like, no, man, like this is dumb. And then depressed Mark Hamill didn't even like this movie. He warned fans, "Hey, this is gonna suck." Like he was sucking on some bird's titty milk down by the ocean, and just looking at it. Like, it was bad. It was bad. And then I like the salt scene because it was stupid, and it reminds me of like something that should be in a Nicolas Cage movie. But there should not be like millions of dollars a frame, right? Just for some guy to go salt, right? To be like, oh yeah, this is not Hoth, right? It's a salt planet, like that. The only cool thing about this movie was the fight scene with Luke Skywalker and Kylo, and he's just like, "Be seeing you, kid," and then vanishes, and that was it. And I think Dave said earlier, right? Like, I think, Dan, you align with this as well, and some other people I've talked with about Star Wars. It's like, hey, man, I'm just happy to see another Star Wars movie. Like they're making them. And that should be, like, it's probably how these films are intended to be. Not like, oh, well, but, like, we live in that age, and I don't know. Rian Johnson, he messed up. I'm sorry I've been swearing so much, but I get
it's
it.
Our show, don't apologize.
He wanted to leave his mark on Star Wars, but like he got a hate campaign called Remake The Last Jedi. You know what I mean? Like maybe he could have done something good. Maybe he should have started the trilogy. A lot of this fault is also on JJ for walking away and then complaining about it. And it's like, oh well, this is what I was left with. It's like you decided to leave.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Can I pick up the mic now? Because I thought that was a fair tirade, Stefan. You make some good points there. As far as the humor goes, I could see why it's not everybody's cup of tea. Like the call waiting joke. That's a little anachronistic. I think some of the there's like a moment where what is that character that they introduced in The Force Awakens that gives Rey a lightsaber? Oh. Maz Kanata. Like she has a sort of a strange supposed to be funny scene where she's like alluding she likes some sort of character. It was meant to be funny. Probably didn't hit home with everyone. I understand there's moments in here when it comes to humor that don't hit, but I think that there are moments that are funny that appeal to a broad audience. And I think Star Wars is meant to be sort of a family film. So I think of one of those humorous moments, the Porgs. I know it's a very small, minuscule part of The Last Jedi, but The Porgs were a big hit. It sold a lot of merchandise. The kids really liked it, and you don't think they're cute? Well, that's okay. They sold a lot of things. That's all Disney really wanted, right?
That's all that matters.
I don't want to stake my argument about The Last Jedi on the Porgs, but I get what you're saying, Stefan. There's some stuff in there that's maybe just weird, and I get that. I also think Leia, flying through space coma, Leia. I liked the idea of it, and I thought the idea of introducing that Leia has force powers in this film made sense. We've only seen her use the force in her ability to talk to Luke, but I feel like that was maybe a slow progression to what we could have seen of Leia in the last film, which unfortunately we didn't get to see. Is that she actually does have some force ability beyond just speaking to Luke telepathically. So I like the idea. It was kind of awkwardly shot. So I will give you that. It just looks kind of weird. What else did you have a gripe about? I was actually very surprised, Stefan, by your... you said the only cool thing about The Last Jedi was the fight scene between Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker, and I thought that was going to be something that you were mad about. So it's funny, we've talked about this so many times, and I'm like, oh, he actually liked that scene, because I feel like a lot of people don't. They thought it was sort of a cop-out because Luke wasn't actually there. So that was surprising. I was very surprised to hear you like that scene. I thought the scene prior to that, where they kill Snoke, was actually more thrilling than the last battle. But as far as Snoke goes, I know that was another big gripe of yours, that they killed Snoke, and you were interested in learning more about him. And I think it built up some expectation, that Snoke would carry out his role until the third film in the trilogy, where he would die. When I think of the Star Wars formula, especially the original films, that's what happened. The first film introduced us to the world, introduced us to Jedi. The second film was really a training montage, and the third film was let's kill the bad guy. You know what I mean? It sort of, and I feel like a lot of films, not just Star Wars, sort of have that formula. So I think we expect going into this trilogy that Snoke is going to be sort of this permanent fixture until the end when he dies. So I really liked how Rian Johnson, I can't really get into his psyche, but what I think he was doing is he realized that was the expectation. So he took that expectation and he sort of twisted it. He killed Snoke in this film, and he didn't kill Snoke in sort of a stupid way. Snoke died because of his own arrogance. He didn't expect that Kylo could defeat him, right? So I thought his death was meaningful, and it really left the third film up to do its own thing. I think Rian Johnson, with this film, not only does he create something that's fun and entertaining to a broad audience, but I think he's keenly aware of how he's playing with Star Wars as a genre and the characters of Star Wars, and how we can do something different with them. So I liked how with Snoke, he killed Snoke off so that there was a potential in the third film to just do something completely different. There was a potential for Kylo at that point at the end of the film. He could go completely bad, because he has control of, all of these troops. He could realistically in the third film just be the bad guy, or there can be something a little bit more muddled, where Rey is really having conflict within herself about the dark side and the light side. So I thought that Rian Johnson sort of set up a lot of good things in this film. But I think what I like best about this film is that it has sort of a clear theme and something that's totally different from what we've seen in other Star Wars films. And I think Yoda really kind of tells us the theme of The Last Jedi when he appears as the Force Ghost. Is it's like
I forgot about that.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite scenes of that film. And it's basically that failure is important to teach other people. You know what I mean?
The sacred text!
Yeah, the sacred text. And he's like, oh, we page turners, right? Have you read them? But I thought this film had a really good thing to say about failure. And I thought it was there were like really three good examples of that in the film. Luke. I know that Mark Hamill did not like this film, probably because of the way Luke was personified. He probably expected Luke to be portrayed as this, brilliant Jedi master. But I loved what Rian Johnson did with Luke here. Luke was a failure as a person, as an uncle, as a guiding force of the Jedi, right? Like he failed. He had that one choice where he could have, he had that one point where he was going to strike down Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, and he had that moment when, darkness overtook him, and because of that, that's really sort of why Ben Solo has gone down a really dark path. It's one of the reasons, so Luke starts the film out as a hermit. He thinks he's a failure. He basically tells Rey, failure is the legacy of the Jedi. We're just a bunch of pompous assholes. We don't own the Force, right? And by the end of the film, we see Luke come out of that. He still accepts the fact that he's a failure, but he's willing to, overcome his own ego to save the Resistance. That was really one of the things that was like holding him up the entire film. Like he wouldn't help Rey and he wouldn't help the Resistance because his own ego got in the way, and he was sort of afraid of what would happen if he did interfere. And, by the end of the film, he learns to overcome that fear, the fear of failure. So Luke is a good example of failure. The failure of the dark side in this film is apparent through Snoke. His arrogance at thinking that he can be, he is unstoppable, right? And he can't see that he has no vulnerability, right? He thinks that he can't even contemplate his own failure, and that is what is his undoing, right? Because Kylo was able to really work against that, right? So Luke, Snoke, and then we have really the Resistance as following through with that theme. The Resistance in this film, you see they're not well coordinated at all.
Like these movies.
Yeah, kind of like these movies. Yeah, I guess maybe if there's like an overarching theme for all of these movies, it's that failure is important. But we see at the end of the film, even though the Resistance is really uncoordinated and they fail a lot throughout the film, and they're really at their the last glimmer of hope, right? They don't have many people left. They learn to still persevere, and there's still a glimmer of hope. So I really like what this film has to say about failure. I also think it has a lot of things to say about war and being a leader, So I just like this film. I think it knows what it's doing. It's playing around with these characters. It cares about the characters, and it spends time with these characters, and it also makes me care about the characters. So,
which characters?
What do you mean, which characters?
Well, which ones does it make you care about?
Well, it made me care about Luke. From the beginning, I was very surprised when he threw the lightsaber over his shoulder. A lot of people did not like that. But it made me feel for him and especially when we get that flashback scene where we understand where Luke is coming from, it really does make you care about him, and you understand his pain, and you understand why he has chosen this life on an island away from the resistance. You know, he doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. You know, he thinks his contributions are not helping. You know, I think I liked Ray's character in this film. I liked all of them, Stefen. I really did. There's not really one character that I dislike. You know, I think there are moments where characters may annoy you. Like, I liked Rose Tico as a character, and I think Kelly Marie Tran is a very talented actress. I don't know if I like that part at the end when she kisses Finn dramatically. Like, it was kind of like a weird move. I don't know if I would have done that.
Kind
But
of forced.
yeah, it was. I thought they had a good platonic relationship, you know. And I agree with you, Dave. I don't know who mentioned it. I think it was you, Dave. That Finn and Rose side quest was kind of like meaningless.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say meaningless. I would say that it was very long. And I know Stefen didn't like Benicio del Toro's part in the film. I think his character's not very memorable, but I do think he has a purpose in the film, which is to lure. Well, I wouldn't say lure. He's to remind Finn of the realities of war, right? That wars are funded by these mega rich people. And his whole mantra is like, don't join the resistance, right? So Finn is being pulled by two different characters in the film. He's being pulled by Benicio del Toro, who's telling him don't join, and he's reminding Finn of the fact like there's no point in joining. And then you have Kelly Marie Tran, who has actual stakes in the war, like her sister died in it. You know what I mean? So in the film, Benicio del Toro is really like the devil on Finn's shoulder, being like, don't join. Don't care about anybody but yourself. And Finn chooses to defy that part of himself and just that idea in general. So, sorry, that was a long discussion, guys. I just ranted at you.
That's perfectly
all good.
fine, man.
It's all good.
A lot of good opinions in there.
I will say the one thing that just rethinking about the film, I do remember when we initially talked about this stuff, and I think I really did like the film. Excuse me. Because of what Dan's saying, like it kind of subverted expectations and whatnot, and it just really. Excuse me, goodness, I had some ground beef for dinner. But it really you didn't see Snoke. You didn't see Snoke dying. You know, what's up with that? The whole copy paste formula where it's like, introduce the characters in the first film, training montage in the second one, and big bad whatever, and final battle in the third one. Rian Johnson.
However you want to
really,
say.
Yeah, that guy. He was like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing and make it so the third film can be whatever it wants to be, and really kind of just change the formula. So I can appreciate that. Some things are hit and miss. There's a yawn coming out. Excuse me. Yeah, that's the end of my point.
No, I feel like you in the end, that's things are hit and miss, right? Everyone's gonna have their own opinion from the movie. I think again the standard. Ideally, everyone wants a good Star Wars movie, right? In my last conversation with Dan, it really helped me, come to the conclusion, you know what, man, they're making Star Wars movies. That's how it should be. I'm just happy we're seeing more Star Wars movies.
I do want to say though, with that whole mentality, not that we need to hold movie executives accountable and blah blah blah, make sure they put up something for a this and that standard, but I kind of feel like people might take what you're saying, oh well, at least be happy that they're just being made, and be like, oh yeah, they can put out anything and call it a Star Wars movie and have it be passable. hey, at least it's Star Wars. Be happy, and just kind of have that mentality. But I don't know. Circling back to kind of what we were talking about before, where like fans like super analyze stuff. Like, Star Wars is one of those franchises where you get three guys like us talking about the film and all the nuances and whatnot.
I will argue though, when you're talking about like, subversion and trying to change things up, and I'm not saying he had to play by the book. I just feel like he should have tried harder to you say a theme is failure. Well, he failed. He succeeded. He failed. So
I think it's harsh.
It might be harsh, but so it says all the people who said remake The Last Jedi. They also said he failed. Disney fired him.
J.J. Abrams? What do you mean Disney fired him after The Last Jedi?
Yeah, they fired Rian Johnson. He had a trilogy deal to make that little broom kid and whoever else be, a Jedi, and then they fired him. They axed it, and now they're marvelizing with Kevin Feige. But my point being is like, Empire Strikes Back had some of the greatest twists and turns in the movie, and you're like, yo, like, I'm your dad. Like, what? That's cool, man. Like,
spoilers.
They should have done something more with Snoke. They had the capability to do more.
Like Snoke was Rey's father? Like,
no,
they did that in the third film, but it was the worst.
It was real bad.
What?
I'm not saying no. No, man, it's not Snoke. They bring back Palpatine. It's wild.
Oh wait, I kind of feel like I heard that.
Worst.
So Palpatine is Rey's father.
Yeah,
it's her grandfather.
Her grandfather. So it's like she's not even a Skywalker, so I don't get why it's called that. I choose my own name, that kind of shit. But
you're talking about Rian Johnson failing. But what about J.J. Abrams? Like, J.J. Abrams was literally like he had pretty much full control over 66% of this new franchise, and he executive produced The Last Jedi. So it's not like he didn't know what was happening. You know what I mean? Like, he played an integral part of it. I understand between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, from what I know, like, he handed Rian Johnson a couple of story beats and was like, here's what I was thinking, but he didn't have like a whole idea planned out. You know what I mean? And I think Rian Johnson, he took what J.J. Abrams put down in The Force Awakens, some of those mysteries that he placed, like who are Rey's parents and like, what's going to happen with Luke? Why is Luke on this island all by himself? And, questions about Snoke, and like he did his own thing with them. Like he didn't just drop everything. He dropped some things, which I don't think he should have done. But what about like J.J. Abrams couldn't do that either. Like he went from The Last Jedi into The Rise of Skywalker, and he literally just he retconned like half of the stuff that Rian Johnson did. He was like, I don't like this. Rey is not a nobody. She's a Palpatine now. She's a nobody from a Palpatine family.
Come from? That's dumb.
It is dumb.
Well, there are a lot of dumb things here, right? Like, originally there was, like we've talked about, this wasn't weaved well together, but they were supposed to be three separate movies. Well, not three separate movies. There are three separate directors, right, who are going to write and direct their own version. They offered JJ the first two. The third one was supposed to be done by Colin Trevorrow, right? The dude who did Jurassic World and is now doing the third one of those. Well, once, like you're saying, JJ produced it. So he's on the hook. I'm not saying he's better. I'm just saying Rian Johnson, he was given the ball and he dropped it hard. And maybe JJ...
Drop it.
I looked into this, and he declined to come back. He didn't get fired. I don't think he got fired. I think
Who
he
are you
was
talking about, JJ or Rian?
No, Rian.
No, he was fired, bro.
But Wikipedia says otherwise.
That's a bad source. Yeah, because Colin Trevorrow, he quit because the script he had written had nothing to do with anything that Rian Johnson did. Like, at all.
I do want to point out that you said that he's only had like 2 good films. What about Knives Out? I wanted to see that.
Knives Out came out after Star Wars. So I'm talking pre-Star Wars, if you're talking currently.
Okay.
Wait, did you say you haven't even seen it? You wanted to see it?
It's a good film, though. It is a good film.
It is a good movie. Absolutely.
It was one I was thinking about buying. That's how I know like something's interesting to me. If I think about buying it, like
that's a good way of checking. But it is worth your money. Knives Out is good.
We've talked Last Jedi. If we're gonna talk failure, we need to talk Rise of Skywalker. Because like you talk a lot of smack about Rian Johnson, but like what J.J. Abrams did in The Last Skywalker was equally as bad if you can compare them.
It definitely was not great. And Dave, you're probably the luckiest out of the 3 of us because you haven't seen it.
You guys can talk about it because I already know the big twist that like I knew Palpatine would be, obviously if they're bringing him back, obviously is going to have like a huge part of the plot. But Rey is his granddaughter?
Yeah.
So it's overly complicated.
And then J.J. Abrams also, you're right, he has a lot of shortcomings, okay? Like the whole payoff of Finn being a Jedi, they didn't even like follow through with that, right? They had one other like ethnic individual in the whole universe, and then they just pushed Rose to the side, right? Like, nope, you're not white, you don't get to be front and center. Like, so there's a lot of messed up stuff with Star Wars, like wholeheartedly wrong on that level. So like Rian Johnson did a lot of cool things in that regard, and there are story beats JJ should have continued, and I think like we talked about, last time we were talking, Dan, was like JJ didn't want to play by someone else's rules, right? Like he didn't want to pick up where Rian left off and then just be like, okay, so this is what I have, so I'm going to play with these action figures the way they are. He's like, nope, let me, like you said, retcon. However, Rian Johnson definitely did the same thing to him with Force Awakens. So you got 2 dudes who are like, they're one clear vision.
Nah, fuck you. I'm gonna do my own thing. Well, fuck you. I'm gonna do my own thing.
Exactly. And
perhaps like mom and dad are fighting, and the kids take the fallout, and we are all the kids. In
yeah.
The movies.
And perhaps JJ doesn't get all the smack he deserves because people are like, oh, he had to come back and save the franchise. When it's like, yo, man, you originally abandoned the franchise. Like you were like, I'm going back to the Enterprise, and then he didn't even do that. So
I don't want to give any of these guys like flack. You know what I mean? Like I like J.J. Abrams. Not only does he seem like a pretty good director, but he just seems like a cool dude. You know what I mean?
He's
like
I still haven't read his book, even though I had to it does for like 5 years.
Hey man, you have it. That's half the battle.
That's true. I want to read it.
He seems like he was trying to do justice to Star Wars, but I think especially with The Rise of Skywalker, he just went off the rails. It was like he wanted to take every symbol from the original trilogy and like shove it into this film, not to make it meaningful or anything, just so it's like, oh, I remember the Death Star. Oh, I remember Palpatine. Like he didn't really do anything with these people, like it was just
hey guys, remember, it's like that's that wasn't a sentence. It's kind of like all these companies like, hey, you remember Bop It? Hey, you remember like the fucking the little skip thing, like skip it, whatever.
Skip it.
Yeah. It's like just throwing those, like all these advertising companies throwing these things at us. Hey, you remember the 90s? But for no reason. JJ was like, Death Star, Jar Jar Binks, Padme. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
That would have been okay if that happened, though.
That's what I felt walking away from that film, Dave. I just was like, he just tried to throw all these things in my face, and I'm like, they don't make sense. First of all, like having first, the plot is very complicated. It's like the whole plot is that they need to destroy Palpatine somehow. So they need to find him. So they need to find a map.
Can I pause right there? They need to do, but like, where does that come from? Who gets? I just need to watch the movie first of all. But I don't. as much as I love Star Wars, and I'm actually have 2 Star Wars tattoos planned
Nice.
this weekend, but
What are they?
we can talk about that later.
Okay.
But I feel like that makes it sound like it's bad, but like it's not. They're just going on my arms. But
Lightsaber in a very provocative spot.
A Death Star over his butt.
I don't want to see the movie. I don't think I really like, if I had cable and if it was on TV, sure, I'd watch it. But I mean, like, if it's on Disney Plus, maybe I might watch it one day. But like, I don't really know if I have that much interest to really see it.
Well,
we've done our job, Stefan.
Yeah, we've saved one, Dan.
Yeah, we've saved one.
That was kind of my initial reaction. Like, oh, cool, the Force, the Rise of see, I can't even remember the name. Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, this is cool, but like, I don't feel excited. I don't feel as excited as I was about the Force Awakens or The Last Jedi.
That's it though, right? It's a descent. Right, you said off the rails. It started off the rails with The Last Jedi. Just Dan, I love your facial expression.
I was very excited about The Force Awakens, and I was just as excited about The Last Jedi.
But you didn't see the follow-up to it.
Stefan is saying that the reason why you weren't excited for the third was because the second was a failure. I'm reading between the lines.
No, that's not why. I think because at the time, there was a lot of other stuff going on. Like there was a lot of Marvel talk, and I feel like there was just as much Marvel talk as there was Star Wars talk, and it just got to be like a lot. So I'm like, I need to breathe, man.
Yes, Stefan, it's more nuanced than that.
Oh, I see. Yes.
You're eliminating all nuance from the conversation.
Apparently,
he's a blatant failure.
It's the theme of his movie, and he learned from it and made Knives Out, and it was great. I'm not dissuading the theme. The failure is important because everybody has failed once or multiple times and will continue to do so, right? So it is a good thing to pop up there. And
can we change gears and talk about the best Star Wars movie and why it's Rogue One?
In 1 second, because I don't know about that. But anyway, like Dan, in the scheme of things, right? Like you are correct in the fact, like, J.J. Abrams did a poor job, a very, very poor job with Rise of Skywalker. And he didn't even bother to take any notes on, like, okay, here's what I have to work with, like, at all. Like, he's just as guilty. I
think he took a few notes. Like, he tried to use some stuff, like the Rey and Kylo thing. Like, he tried to pull on that a little bit, but wasn't, like I think... Sorry, Steph. I totally cut you off.
That's okay. Go ahead, buddy.
See, when you say like J.J. Abrams did a poor job, like I totally agree with that, but I also don't like hearing that. Hearing someone say that he did a poor job. I think that last movie was a lot to shove into one movie. You know what I mean? Like, I think if J.J. Abrams really wanted to tell that story that he wanted to tell, he needed to split it into 2 stories. You know what I mean? Which could have meant a 4-part Star Wars, saga, or it could have just meant he stood on for that second film, which he didn't. So he does have a lot of responsibility in how it turned out. And ending stories is really hard. You know what I mean? Like, I can see why J.J. Abrams walking into that third movie, looking at the fact that Snoke is not there anymore, he'd be like, well, who the hell is the big bad now? I guess I have to bring back Palpatine because we don't have a big bad, right? So I can understand, like, why he made some of the decisions he did. I just don't think he carried them out the way... He didn't do any of his ideas justice, you know what I mean? Like, they could have been good ideas, but he didn't flesh them out. He didn't give them the time to breathe, So I think there was a lot that went into that last film not succeeding, not just J.J. Abrams doing a bad job, but, whoever's responsible, it just was not a good film. Dave, do you want to talk about why you think Rogue One is the best Star Wars film? I'm intrigued. I don't agree, but I'm intrigued.
No, I'm just honestly, I'm just kind of oh, that's awesome, cool. I'm just stirring the pot just because I saw something on Facebook. It was like, oh, Rogue One's but I mean, it kind of did get me thinking a little bit. I don't know. My favorite. Okay, what's everyone's favorite Star Wars movie? Let's start with that.
Episode 3.
Why is Episode 3 your favorite?
Mine, I think.
Yeah.
Well, because it's the perfect bridge between Lucas's original idea to the franchise that he already created, right? So, Star Wars 1, 2, and 3 were written ahead of time. He just didn't have technology. So 3 is that perfect bridge into what everybody knows and loves. And it was Vader's story. Obviously the prequels follow Anakin, but it also, you had Obi-Wan, right? You had some of how he came to be. And then 3 is just quintessentially, this is Anakin Skywalker's death and rebirth as Vader. And I love Vader, so I thought this was a well done thing for that character. It was a very good character film for Anakin, for the Darth Vader. It was the Vader thing I was waiting for.
Stefen loves that Dark Daddy.
That's right.
Yeah, he does.
Dark Daddy D, baby.
Anyway, Dan, what's your favorite film?
My favorite, pretty cliche, but Empire, definitely my favorite. I love the ending of it when Luke gets his hand chopped off and Darth Vader's like, I'm your father. Part. Yeah, it's my favorite part. It was quite the sales pitch on Darth Vader's part to chop off his son's hand and then say, I'm your dad.
Yeah, right.
No, it's a good film. I think that's my favorite, and
yes, I am.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say that my second favorite is The Last Jedi, Stefen.
Respect,
my
brother,
favorite.
respect.
My favorite is also The Empire Strikes Back. It's a good film.
What about Rogue One though? Do you have no feelings about Rogue One?
I was gonna get to that. Rogue One, it's amazing. It introduces all these new characters and whatnot. I mean, you can hardly really say new because we all know what happens, but it makes you care about them in such a way that you kind of, at least I kind of forgot that by the end of the film, none of them. Spoilers for anyone listening who hasn't seen Rogue One yet. They none of them survive. It's a suicide mission. But it happens in such a way that when you see the light of the explosion, I was like, I felt it, and then it's I liked it a lot because it made me care about characters that really in the end don't I don't want to say don't matter because it sets up it rolls right into episode 4. Oh my God, that's right. You're right. I totally forgot. Duh. Just some other stuff going on. It just sets it up so perfectly. But it's I think a really good movie can make you care about characters that don't really matter in the long run. But again, like I said, it sets up episode 4. Well, also, come on, dude, we get to see Vader just fucking unload on the rebels, just coming in. And I know one of our friends, he has a really big gripe about that. He's like, Darth Vader doesn't make puns, da, da, da. And if we get him on the show again, I'll definitely, throw that in his face. But he's like, yeah, Darth Vader doesn't make puns, and I thought it was fantastic.
What, the choke on your aspirations one?
Yeah. Which is way better than Call Waiting. Because he's actually choking that guy.
he is the dark daddy of puns, you know. Just like he is a dad. Like you might as well lean into it.
He like Tobias the leather daddy.
He's a never nude. Vader would be a never nude. But no, I think Rogue One's a pretty solid movie. You know what I mean? As a one-off, I don't really think Cassian Andor is anything special, but
I don't know who that is.
He's the guy.
He's the guy. If anything, Jyn Erso I thought was real cool, and Mads Mikkelsen as her dad, like Galen Erso, I thought that's pretty cool, right? I would watch more like how'd you get into the Empire, and like why'd they pick you. You know, like that, his whole kind of backstory, I would watch that. That'd be cool. But also,
I thought it was a neat film. You know, it's just kind of like a little bridge.
I liked, I think similarly to you, Dave, I liked that it was sort of like a noble sacrifice movie. It's like, these people are all going to die in the end anyway, but, you know,
for a
it's
second,
not really...
you think, no, but then it's like, oh, wait, no.
Arguably, it's one of the few realistic aspects of its name, right? Star Wars, because this is a war movie. You know what I mean? Not everyone makes it back. It's a space
opera.
My point is, its namesake, it has war in the title. This is a movie that capitalizes on, you know,
the cost of war.
Yeah. You know, like, oh, Obi-Wan could, you know, like, that guy's gonna make it, you know what I mean? But, like, these people are like, yeah, I've never heard of them. Nobody has, because they're dead. Right? So it's like, yeah, it is honestly, horrifying.
I did not like Jyn Erso, so I'm gonna just, like, sprinkle that little bit of salt in your face, Stefan.
That's okay, man.
Yeah, Jyn Erso was just not my favorite character. And her father, too, like...
Oh, you don't like Galen?
I like the actors, you know, in the film, but I did not like what they did with these characters. Like, I felt like Jyn Erso was supposed to be like this rugged, like, I'm not going to join the resistance sort of character at the beginning, and then, like, she has, like, 5 monologues about hope throughout the film. Like, where did you get all this hope from, girl? Like, I don't know. It just seems like very weird. Like, it didn't fit her character. Like, she literally starts off the film just being like, I don't give a crap about anybody. And then just all of a sudden, like, I understand, like, they were trying to do something inspirational with her, but I didn't give a crap about her. And I didn't give a crap about Cassian Andor, so I guess we can agree on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Cassian Andor is a third-rate Han Solo. He's even worse than Poe Dameron. I
do like Revenge of the Sith, sort of, so we can agree on that. And I know we may talk about the prequels some other time in the future, but that one was, I have fond memories of that. I don't know if on rewatch it's actually a good film, but I liked how he was trying to tie everything together there.
Yeah, like Dave was saying about Rogue One, right? It's one of those it's a bridge, you know. Like I think it's the crown jewel out of what he was trying to do. Again, like you said, we'll talk about the prequels in a follow up. But I'm gonna quickly sidetrack us back when we were talking about like the whole Snoke thing, right? Like how Skywalker, like in Rise of Skywalker, they showed in the beginning, like, oh, Snoke was, like, their failed Emperor, like, clones, right? They showed a whole bunch of Snokes in, like, giant mason jars or that kind of thing. They could have even done that, right? Like, continue, like, oh, he's dead, let's just make another one or something like that. I don't know. They're Hollywood. They could do anything. You know what I mean? And this is what they chose to do. And, like, I hear you, like, hearing the whole idea of blame, or like, I'm sure these guys are cool guys, but like, you can't take a beloved franchise and then drive it into the ground and expect people to be like, Yeah, you know what, man? That's okay. Like, you go do better next time. Because it's like Dave said, the people who suffer when mom and dad fight are the kids. And we are those kids. And it's like, you can go on and make something different. We don't know when we're going to get our next decent Star Wars flick. You know what I mean?
You know who really suffered, though? You know what kid really suffered?
Don't tell
Broom
me.
Boy.
Oh, my God.
Broom Boy really suffered.
Okay.
Broom Boy.
I don't want to
Stefan's
talk
got a
about
lot of
Broom
grapes
Boy.
about Broom Boy.
You're the man. I respect that. That was really good. You tied that all around. You know who? You're right, Dan. Broom Boy. I will never get to. Dave and me will never get to grow to care about Moon Boy. We'll never see him become
Moon
a
Boy.
man. We'll never see him fall in love. We'll never see him force choke somebody or whatever. Like, we'll never see any of it now.
I don't know why you were so hung up on Broom Boy. Like, I thought it was just a nice way to end a film, but no, Stefan's gonna make it this big hate thing. And if we're gonna democratize the Force in the next film, like why don't we? I don't know. What's the problem with doing it at the very end of The Last Jedi?
Because
You know what I mean?
that's so bad. That whole light side, dark. It's like, shut up. That's not how they talk in the original movies. They don't say any of that hippie nonsense. It's like, yo, you're good, you're bad. That's it. You know?
You don't think it would have been interesting to have somebody in the middle? Like, don't they do that? Like,
Purple
on
side?
the purple side, yeah.
Mace Windu's the man. I hope he comes back. Don't get me... Okay, in the middle, I guess I'm not trying to contradict myself. That could be cool. I'm talking about...
I'm trying to make you contradict yourself.
Yeah,
You're
right?
doing a very good job. You're very... Yeah, it's hard to debate with you. But my point is, like, they never talked like that in episodes 4 through 6 or 1 through 3 with this, oh, the light side, blah, blah, blah. It's like... it's so cringy. Like, people could...
What are you talking about? Yes, they did.
They were never like, oh, the light side is strong with you or any of this stuff. It was the Force, not like this use of the light side being like hyper, like in focus. It was like the dark side, the Sith, and the Jedi or the Rebellion. Not
the
this
Sith is like a
overused-
new invention in the prequels. They weren't mentioned in the original films.
Oh yes, they were.
And the Sith,
Yeah.
the word Sith.
The word Sith, yes.
I don't remember that. Like, they called
I don't remember that
Palpatine
either, but I
the
mean,
Sith Lord.
I feel
Like, I
that
think
could
you're
be a
just...
thing.
I feel like this is all like semantics. Like, what's the difference? Like, Sith, Jedi, light, dark. Like, they're all... I thought in The Last Jedi, they were making a good point about there being, like, sort of two sides of a coin. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not saying the argument is about what the sides are. I'm talking about how they're delivering the names of the sides. Like, when they get in these monologues about the light side, like they're saying the light side. That just doesn't sound as cool as I'm sure they thought it did, and it's cringy dialogue. It's bad.
okay, Stefan, you can have that one. I will say that I think the Jedi don't own the Force, nor do the Sith. You know, at least as far as I know, right? There are other people who sort of fall under Force sensitive people. You know what I mean? So just dichotomizing it as Jedi and Sith is a little misleading. Maybe saying the light side and the dark side is a little cringy, but I don't know. Stefan, whatever. I will give that one to you.
Whatever.
He's like, fine, just take it.
Yeah, take it. Take it.
All right. Damn it. You're right. The word Sith was never spoken in the original trilogy of the Star Wars films.
Yes.
Wait, which described appeared? Oh, never mind. It appeared in a novelization. That's disappointing. It was used in the first draft of the script.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
Whatever, man. I was wrong.
That's like saying that Finn was going to tell Rey that he was Force sensitive. Like, if it's not in the actual film, I don't believe you, J.J. Abrams. Like, that was bullshit.
Yeah.
Rey, I have something to tell you. No, you weren't. You weren't going to tell her that You're force sensitive. J.J. Abrams, you're fibbing.
I also think the title should have been switched. Second movie should have been Rise of Skywalker. Third movie should have been The Last Jedi.
All right. Stefan's got grapes with the names too. I mean,
yo, man, you just.
Is there anything that you love, Stefan? Do you love anything?
I love plenty of things, right? We're in a heated debate, and I'm in it.
I don't know if this is that heated, man. Dan's being pretty calm and cool and collected, and you're the one who's spitting fire here.
That's right. Dragons don't spit nothing else, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Is there anything else to be said? Besides that we still don't agree on pretty much anything?
I think we agree on the fact that they could have each done better.
Okay.
Even if you don't want to say it was their fault is the word.
I will say that they both produce flawed films.
That's a very nice way of saying that.
Yeah. One more flawed than the other. that one being The Rise of Skywalker. But
well, you got to learn how to fail to make a good one.
And that's it.
J.J. Abrams learned how to do that for sure.
That's beautiful.
Okay. Well, I think that's it. Thank you for all listening. See, I'm all tongue-tied. Thank you for tuning in to another Thank you for stopping in for another episode of The Group Chat with David and Stefan and guest Dan, producer. Why am I shouting? Everyone can hear me.
Thank you, guys.
So, do you want to see it now that we've talked about it? Has this enticed you?
No, I want to go to sleep,
yes,
dude.
I'm going to watch this at some point.
This has just been one giant advertisement for a movie that you guys have been saying don't watch.
Well, it's like Nicolas Cage. You got to watch it. You can't look away, Dave. Even if it's a dumpster fire, you still got to check it out.
That's true. You got to rubberneck as you're going down the highway looking at the accident.
Oh, is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
American Dad, a whole episode about it. Anyway, that's our show. Come back next week. I don't know. It depends on the upload schedule. I am very bad with it. Thank you for listening.